Which one over there? You know, now that we are...
Just a little bit closer?
It is closer. I'm sorry. Joshua did this.
So this has a mic?
Yes. Point it a little more. There. Okay. Take that.
Hopefully you can hear us better.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing John Gottman's Four Horsemen, and I chose this because I'm doing a talk on it at church in a few weeks, and I wanted to really hear Jimbo's thoughts on it.
Yeah. Okay. You got it.
All right, Billy. October 19th, 2017, the year of our Lord, Four Horsemen, episode 0316. Jimbo, anything?
Not a thing.
All right, so I'll intro the Four Horsemen, and then you kind of go with your intro example.
Okay.
3, 2. Guys, welcome to the show. This is Pairadocs.
Welcome to the show. This is Pairadocs.
And we are coming to you
live
from YouTube right now.
From YouTube land.
So we record our content episodes every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Yep.
And every Thursday at 2 p.m. we will be recording live.
Yeah.
We will be on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Do you know what that is?
Docs Podcast.
Okay, so it is. Mm-hmm. So it's youtube.com/Docs Podcast.
Yeah.
So if you have literally nothing else to do at 2 p.m. on a Thursday, you can catch us there.
And here's the deal. Josh was hesitant about doing this. Simply because, he cusses a lot. And so he was really worried about it. We should be talking about this while we're on the air.
We are on the air. We just already said welcome to the show.
Oh, yes, good. Yeah. I'm glad you're all listening. Because now, if the podcast is up and running, now we have like 20 to 30 people listening instead of 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Via YouTube. So yes, if you want, it's the same thing. We're not doing anything. There's not necessarily a lot of extra content other than just kind of us getting ramped up and that sort of thing.
And me rolling my eyes at Jimbo when we have a guest and he's awkward.
Exactly.
Today we're going to be talking about John Gottman's Four Horsemen of the Marriage Apocalypse. John Gottman is a marriage researcher out of Washington State, right?
Yep.
He is kind of the go-to in behavioral marriage couples therapy.
He's the man.
Which is one of the 2 most empirically supported marriage treatments, behavioral.
In fact, and people may know Gottman because he's sort of famous for, he's been on 2020 and 60 Minutes and that sort of thing, for saying, he would interview a couple and within 2 minutes he could tell you whether they're going to divorce with 98% accuracy.
It's pretty crazy.
And what he was looking for in those couples as he was talking to them was the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, in particular, contempt. But the Four Horsemen, so these are 4 behaviors that spouses can do towards each other that are negative predictors within marriage. So they actually predict a negative marital outcome. One of them is criticism. This is the idea that we really attack the person. We kind of really attack them at their core. Contempt is a second. Contempt is an overall attitude of just hate and disdain towards the spouse. Defensiveness, it's really out of either righteous indignation or playing the victim. It's really not trying to problem solve, and it's really blaming the spouse. Yep. And then stonewalling, just ignoring and not wanting to resolve really any issues. Mm-hmm. And stonewalling, in some ways, out of these 4 is a result of the other 3.
Correct.
Jimbo, you have an example.
Yeah. First off, anytime you're working with a couple, you see, depending on how serious their issues are, you begin to see the Four Horsemen in action. And one of the great ones, one of the great examples of that is the contempt. Because he talks a lot about why you should complain. You should complain more and criticize less. But you'll see someone that, it's called an ad hominem argument, where we attack the person and we are not necessarily attacking the argument. We're not having the argument, we are attacking the person. And so often, that's where our conversations go. That's where our arguments go, is they go to attacking the other person. And so he's saying that we ought to complain more about behaviors, criticize less.
Positive complaint.
Yeah. About what the other person is doing, not about who they are as a person. But I see that in the office all the time. For example, and let's do your first one. What's the first one we want to discuss? See, they can't. Here, let me zoom in on that. Okay.
Yeah. Ad hominem argument.
Yes.
It took me forever to write it down. So we're stopped here.
You should have that just automatically, just for. There it is. Let me zoom in on that puppy right there.
Boom.
There
Still
it is.
shot.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Where you attack the person and not the argument.
I did ask for an example. Do you have like a real life example or just all couples?
All couples.
Well, we don't want to. I already described them, and now we just need to talk about the problem, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've. So yeah.
You just asked for the first one, but I thought we were going to go over overall problems.
Now let's break out each one of them and see how it's a problem, and then how you correct it. So we'll take each of the four, and then we'll say, here's what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you need to prepare. Go ahead.
All my preparation is in my mind.
I don't prepare
it's
like
all up here.
that. I don't prepare like that.
All of it. Because I don't like to squelch the Holy Spirit. So you just take them one at a time, and we'll say, yeah, here's what this looks like.
Which I've already done.
Not necessarily.
I said criticism is attacking the person.
Okay. Okay. Technically, yes.
Contempt is hating them.
Sort of like I'm feeling towards you right now. Okay, yes. But we can give examples and that sort of thing, more specific examples as we walk through them.
Do you have examples of all four?
Yeah, every one of them.
Sorry, Bill, we're still not going.
And by the way, for people watching, that's letting Bill know to stop recording, and he's going to have to make. Because here's the deal, Billy he goes in and he takes every breath, every tiny little thing, because he happens to be the only professional involved in this entire operation. And so if he sees on the tape these clapping, he knows that that's where you stop, and we're going to make an edit. And I can't for the life of me think what you're writing down right now.
The problems?
Oh.
But historically, we say, here's the issue, here are 3 or 4 reasons why this is bad,
That's the
here
problem.
are the solutions.
But since we're dealing with 4 now, we could do 4 different shows and take each of the 4 horsemen.
Yes.
We could do that.
But we've already talked about all 4. I'm just thinking like...
We could start over. And just take criticism, then just take contempt, and just take...
Yes.
Or let's just take them one at a time. Let's look at each one and say what the problem is.
Prepare. All right. Cool. So we do need to start over.
And are we going to do 4 weeks on this?
No. Do you want to do 4 weeks on this? No. Let's just go up to the top and
Take it from the top.
welcome. Today we're talking about the 4 Horsemen: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. And then define each one. Define. And then do we want to discuss the problem, or is that assumed in the definition?
No, let's talk about the problem. What that does and how that impacts
What
communication.
does it do?
How it impacts communication, how it can, like contempt, how it's acid on the relationship. It corrodes it.
Okay, so we'll define, and then we'll problem, and then we'll solution.
Yeah.
Cool. And we have to hit record and pretty much go straight through.
Got it.
Bill, we're going to take it from the top.
Take it from the top.
Take it from the top. 3, 2. Guys, welcome to the show.
Guys,
this is
welcome
Pairadocs.
to the show. This is Pairadocs.
And we
He's
are actually...
Josh.
I'm Josh.
I'm Jimmy.
We're coming to you live for the very first time from YouTube. You're actually not going to see this live because this episode doesn't drop for a few more weeks, but now you know. Every Thursday at 2 o'clock, we do a content episode, and we are going to be streaming live on YouTube. And so if you literally have nothing, it would probably be more useful for you to like organize your sock drawer, but if you like literally have nothing else
I'm
to
thinking
do,
a lot of prisoners, people that are in solitary, solitary confinement. They would find this entertaining.
and they might actually be used to torture them in solitary.
Yes.
So
Guantanamo uses these recordings.
So Thursdays, 2 p.m., log in. If you are somehow on today, you probably don't have a lot of sound. We'll fix that. But it's youtube.com/Docs Podcast. So welcome today. We're going to talk about John Gottman's 4 Horsemen of the Marriage Apocalypse. Gottman is a marriage researcher out of Seattle.
He's the man.
He is like one of 2 of the leading researchers as far as marriage therapy is concerned. There's a lot of them out there, but he's one of the main guys. And he discusses 4 different behaviors and attitudes and ways of interacting that spouses do that completely kill a marriage.
Yes, in fact, a lot of you may have heard of John Gottman because he's been on, 60 Minutes and Dateline, and he's famous for he can interview a couple for 2 minutes for 120 seconds, and he can predict with 98% accuracy whether they will divorce or not. And what he's looking for in their interactions are the 4 horsemen. And when we do couples therapy here, you see these all the time. And it is a way, for me anyway, it's a way of gauging sort of the severity of what's going on with the couple. Is how many of the 4 horsemen do you see in this couple's interaction?
All right, the 4 horsemen are, I'll say them and then we'll define each of them a little bit more. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And in a lot of ways, stonewalling is kind of a result of the other 3. Mm-hmm. We'll take the first one, criticism.
Here's how Gottman breaks down criticism. He says that we should complain about a person's behavior.
Positively.
I.e., man, I wish you'd take out the trash. I wish I didn't have to remind you all the time to take out the trash. Complain about their behavior, but what kind of a moron doesn't take out the trash? How many times do I have to tell you? Are you actually mentally deficient? That's criticism. And so instead of attacking the person, which most of us know is an ad hominem argument, meaning you're attacking the person, you're not going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about now.
No.
So you did that last time.
We've actually already recorded this part.
And chunked it.
Back to the
and
top.
threw it away. But it's when you stop talking about the issue and you start attacking them. You see this in politics all the time. We're not talking.
You just start attacking.
We quickly get away from whatever the issue is, and we just start attacking the person.
So there is such thing as a positive complaint that we'll get to, but this is attacking the person and not necessarily
that's
the
what
issue.
that's what he considers to be criticism. And so when he sees a person, we're no longer talking about the issue at hand. We're talking about what a bad person the other person is. That's criticism.
Contempt is the second. This is just a next step in the progression.
Yeah.
It's not just attacking the person verbally like criticism is. It's having an overall heart attitude towards the person that's vindictive and hateful.
You see it. You can see it. It's contempt. You can also see it in like disgust. You'll see it in one of the spouse's face where they just go, just like, you're beyond all hope. You're not worth me even responding to that. You can see that their heart it's been hardening over time, and it is just about to solidify.
He says this is the greatest negative predictor within marriage.
Yeah,
the greatest predictor of divorce.
When you hold someone else in contempt.
And it's really an air of superiority.
Absolutely
They are way down
you
there.
Are beneath me.
They're terrible. And it is really a heart attitude where criticism is that verbal attack. The third is defensiveness. And in a lot of ways, defensiveness is self-protection through either righteous indignation or playing the victim yourself. It's a way to skirt the issue.
You see this one all the time. I think criticism, you see that a lot. And to tell you the truth, and this is just me throwing this in, I think you see criticism more in women. And when we get to the last one, you see stonewalling more in guys.
It's incredibly racist.
True. Not racist. I don't care what race they are. It's very misogynistic.
Just a joke.
You're criticizing massage therapists.
Just a joke. I'm just throwing out.
But
it's just so binary.
It is. So when you're talking about defensiveness, this I think we all fall victim to this one, because most arguments begin something around this. You brain dead moron, how many times do I have to blank? Well, as soon as we come at somebody, what Gottman calls an aggressive startup, then the first thing that other person does is defends. They defend themselves. And so and then as soon as the other person takes a breath, then we attack back. How dare you say that? I can't believe after what you've done, you would mention this. And so we just attack, defend, attack, defend. It becomes this ping pong match, just attack, defend, until we both just get tired and we walk away, having not accomplished anything.
Stonewall.
Yeah. And then stonewalling.
Yeah, and it's exactly that. We get tired of the defensiveness and the criticism, and we stop fighting for it at all.
Yeah.
We ignore each other, and we don't seek resolution on really any issues.
And guys get there much quicker. Guys are the one, and again, I'm thinking of Egrich in Love and Respect, where many guys, if not most guys, shut down. It's not worth it. And this is what's going on in their mind. It's not worth it to have this conversation, because she's going to blow up. She's going to be irrational. I'm just going to shut down. Both parties do it, obviously, just like both of them criticize. But guys tend to get to stonewalling quicker, where it's just not worth the effort, and they shut down and close off.
All right, nice definitions, Jimbo. Now let's kind of talk about what problems ensue because of these things, outside of, obviously, divorce in some cases. Part of the problem of the four horsemen is that they are very selfish. They don't seek the good and betterment of the marriage. They really only seek to protect the self and lift up the self, trying to then downplay and chop down the other, the spouse. And so it is, these four horsemen are really the height of selfishness. And obviously, God, just generally speaking in relationship, calls us to be selfless, not self-full. And specifically, though, in marriage, there has to be, for it to work, this dying of self, and the four horsemen is the opposite of that.
Absolutely. One of the great things lacking in any and all marriages, especially those that are in trouble, is a lack of empathy. Not being able to feel what the other person feels, see what the other person sees from their point of view. We lack empathy, and all these things show a lack of empathy. There's a great book, and we're going to try to get Paul David Tripp on the show. But he wrote a book, and it's several years old now. In fact, it's been reprinted. But it's called What Did You Expect? And it's fantastic because it addresses this very thing. All of us are dirty, rotten, miserable sinners. All of us are. We are, and we married someone who is a miserable, rotten sinner. What did you expect? You know, when we employ the four horsemen, be it criticism or stonewalling or any of them, we are, the great marriage verse of the Bible that we don't use all that much is, get the sequoia redwood out of your own eye before you attempt to say anything about the nanoparticle in your spouse's eye. All of the four horsemen show a complete lack of introspection. Because anytime, and we've talked about this before, but anytime we're going to come into an argument or a problem solving in a relationship, the first element of that conflict is humility. Because you are nobody to be getting on a soapbox. Nobody. Nobody gets on. No one fits on a soapbox. Nobody. Because we've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. Your total lack of insight into your own behavior.
I would say another problem, if we were to become one, this chops the one in half and puts both spouses against each other. And so it seeks to divide, not
absolutely.
join.
And our struggle is not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and powers of this present darkness. That is one of the great ways, I believe, that Satan gets our eye off the ball. And he's called the deceiver, with a capital D. He's called the father of lies for a reason. Because once he gets us to view our spouse as the enemy, we've won. That's it. Satan is dancing a jig. He's just hopscotching at that point. Because he's now moving freely, completely unnoticed. And so, absolutely, these things pit partners against each other. Instead of being on the same team, we are enemies. We're adversaries. And as soon as we begin seeing our spouse as the enemy, we've lost already.
Any other problems?
I think those are the big ones. And here's another thing. If we keep doing the same thing the same way, expecting a different result, I mean, we keep criticizing, thinking, oh, if I just say it louder, if I just use the F-bomb more frequently, then they'll understand. And it's sort of like, and again, back to Egrich and Love and Respect, because I love when he says, you know, what we lack is we want our spouse to love us more. That's why we're upset. I'm mad because the other person doesn't love me more. And he says, so our solution to that is we get a stick and we poke them in the eye until they love us more. We're doing the exact thing that's going to guarantee they're not going to love us more. Criticism, contempt, stonewalling, those are not going to work. They haven't worked. I feel contempt. I feel contempt.
With this lovely YouTube now, I'm trying to make fun of him by writing insults.
Even when I've got wisdom that's gushing out of me, like Old Faithful, and you're still making fun.
He likes to hear himself talk to the audience.
Okay, I'm not going to say anything else.
To the audience
I'm wrapping
of
it up.
zero.
I'm going to defend myself, and then I'm going to attack you. Go ahead.
And then you're going to stonewall me.
Then I'm going to stonewall.
Okay, so the solution, seriously though, you were on a roll.
I was?
And expect more insults, but you just got to roll with it.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing though?
What?
No more on that?
Oh, just about what the problem? No, I mean
Okay.
those are the two biggest issues.
So I would say the solution for me for criticism is to focus more on I statements rather than you. And to propose a positive solution to whatever the issue is.
Yeah, come with a solution.
Correct.
And the solution isn't do what I say.
Correct. Yeah, it's some sort of middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so focus on I statements. So instead of you're such an idiot for leaving the toilet seat up or down, it is pause.
Clap.
All right, 3, 2. Instead of you're such an idiot for leaving an important thing to you because you don't necessarily fall into the toilet in the middle of the night, but it is an important thing for me, and it kind of time and time again when it keeps happening, and so I would love it if you were to just try to concentrate a little bit more on putting the toilet seat down.
One thing real quickly personally with
Yep.
you. In the middle of the night, don't you sit and pee in the middle of the night?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
you got to.
I mean, who's going to lift the seat in the middle of the night? The chances of hitting that are from that distance is cray-cray.
Sure, and if I can actually lay my head on the wall next to
Yes.
the toilet and fall back asleep while going to the restroom,
Like that hasn't happened. Hello.
it's pretty great.
Correct.
And so focus on I statements, less on you, and then propose a positive solution.
And I would say, just like we do with children, we would never say, Johnny, you brought home a C. Are you stupid? How stupid are you, Johnny? We would never come at our kids with that kind of criticism. We all, as parents, it's instinctual for us that we talk about their behavior. We don't like the behaviors. Not them, it's the behavior. If we could just adopt the same sort of courtesy with our spouse as we do with our children go.
For contempt, you have to learn to choose to respect your spouse.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you think he or she deserves it, choose to respect your spouse and really try to develop a culture of appreciation.
Well, and this goes back to take the log out of your own eye. Anytime we use that type of contempt, where we look at our spouse and perceive our spouse with such disdain, that says 1,000 times more about us than it says about our spouse. It says that we are blind to our own sin and to our own shortcomings. So again, take the log out of your own eye before you attempt to address the speck in your spouse's, and much less with something as hateful as contempt.
Solution would be learn to accept responsibility yourself. It takes two to the issue.
And if you think about it, most offensiveness is just, yeah, I did it. Sorry, man, I suck at that. Okay, yeah, you're right. That's me. I'm bad. But how many times do people that we work with or people that we're married to, it's like, it's been years since they've agreed that what they did was wrong or out of place. It's like there was Jesus 2,000 years ago, and then 2,000 years, and then you popped out. I mean, it's almost crazy that we try to tell ourselves that we're always right, we're never wrong, we're always misunderstood. It's this narrative that's comical to someone on the outside. But to us, we have to never be wrong because our self-worth can't handle it.
And then for the last one, stonewalling. You have to choose to engage.
Yeah.
And often, calling a 20-minute timeout to just get over the intense emotions that's causing you to desire to just ignore and stonewall. Call a 20-minute timeout to catch your emotional breath and then come back to it and return to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, stonewalling is, I love the phrase, it's just what you're saying, but it's moving into your spouse. Move toward, move into your spouse. And again, I'm talking so much right now to guys. Is when you want to pull back, when you want to, I just want to get out of the line of fire. Instead of that, you move into. You don't shut down, you engage. You ask questions. You want to have the conversation. Even though every survival instinct in your head is just exploding. Run away. Don't do that. You move in and you engage in the conversation.
Guys, this was Pairadocs.
Yes, it was.
On YouTube.
Here, I just zoomed in on that puppy.
On YouTube as well as in the airways here in a couple of weeks. That was our episode on 4 Horsemen. If you want more information about this show as well as extra steps to take if this hit close to home, go to paradocspodcast.com. You can also follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and now YouTube.
Hello.
It's at Docs Podcast. And then you can find Jimmy and myself on those 3 platforms at our individual platforms. You can find that information at paradocspodcast.com as well. Jimbo, anything else?
Nothing.
All right, take care.
Peace out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's how the magic is made. That's how the magic, or the sausage, either way you want to look at it.
What are you talking about?